everyone, this is Marika and welcome back to another session with me. So in our previous session under Unit 5, we were dealing with teaching and different principles of teaching. We've also seen a learning process, different principles of learning. We've also discussed about maxims of teaching, right? Today in this session, we are going to discuss about classroom management. So we have discussed about the activities that are carried out within a classroom, right? For example, teaching, learning, right? Different principles of the process of teaching and learning. Today, we are going to learn how a classroom should be. How can we manage a classroom and make it effective for the process of teaching and learning, right? So when I say classroom management, it is understood that a classroom is a place where a teacher goes and provides and delivers lecture and imparts the knowledge, right? The students sits within the classroom and listen to what the teacher is teaching. So classroom and classroom management is a very vital aspect in teaching learning process. To have or to carry out a successful teaching process, classroom management is a vital factor. With proper classroom management, favorable working environment and a favorable learning environment for the learners can be developed. If the working conditions and the environment are pleasant and comfortable, it makes the process of learning and teaching easier and effective. Now, what is classroom management? Now, classroom management is a process by which the teachers and the schools are able to create an environment for the learners or the students where they help the students to maintain appropriate behavior. Now, a classroom is a setting where the students are put, where the learners are kept, and learners are made to follow certain behavior within the classroom so that appropriate and desirable behavior is seen and inculcated in them. Right? Now, classroom management is not just a concept to make the teaching learning process easier, rather, it is a process of disciplining the child as well. Right? It helps in inculcating discipline within the students of the class. Now, different classes will have different management, right? It varies from one classroom to another classroom. Now, the purpose of implementing or the purpose of having a classroom management is only to make sure that there is more academic engagement of the students during the process of learning, right? With proper classroom management, we can make sure that the students become interested in learning. We can elicit the interest within the students and make sure that the students are motivated and engaged in the academic session more, right? Now that we have understood what is a classroom management, let us see what is the importance of managing a classroom. Why do we have to, manage a classroom or make an environment for the children to study, for the students to learn, right? The first one is to establish and sustain an environment that is conducive of learning and teaching for the students as well as for the teachers. Managing a classroom properly establishes and maintains a certain kind of environment within the classroom setting which facilitates the process of teaching and learning, right? The next importance is proper classroom management will help in increasing meaningful academic engagement and learning, right? Now, when you have a proper and well managed classroom, when the students and the teachers are aware about the routine to be carried out within the classroom, when there's discipline maintained within the classroom, it obviously increases the engagement of the teacher and the student in the academics, right? It helps us to avoid the wastage of time. It helps the student to know what is to be done next or what is expected from them. The teacher is also aware about what is to be done next, right? So it helps to increase the academic learning and it facilitates meaningful learning for the students as well as for the teachers. And obviously, it will help in the individual growth of the student also. The next importance of classroom management is classroom management helps to decrease the negative behavior in the students. right? Because classroom management includes the behavior that are expected from the students, the discipline that a student has to follow inside the particular classroom, right? Now, this will help the student to understand what is the behavior that they can display and what is not to be done, right? So this will decrease the negative behavior displayed by the students within the school or within the classroom, all right? Now, because there is a decrease in the negative behavior of the student, it will help them to get involved more academically and learn in a better way. So these are the various importance of classroom management. So the basic importance of having a classroom or to follow the management of classroom is to make sure that the students and the teacher have a conducive learning environment, right? The environment that is not distracted and the environment where there is no wastage of time, where the teacher and the learner both are aware about what is to be done next and what is expected out of them, right? It will also help to discipline the students, right? It will help the students to know and learn better. Okay, now let us discuss the principles of classroom management. To manage or to organize anything, we need to follow certain principles, right? Principle guides how things are to be done, right? Let us see what are the different principles to manage classroom. Now, when I'm talking about a classroom, as I said in the very beginning, is a place where students and teachers spend most of their time, right? The environment of the classroom must be conducive of learning, right? It must facilitate learning. So we must make sure that physical conditions of the classroom must be regulated. Now, physical condition may include ventilation, lighting, seating arrangement within the classroom, right? So the first principle says that we have to regulate the physical condition of the classroom, right? The next principle is regulation concerning seating and attendance. So, in a classroom, for the students to learn, the environment must be comfortable. The students must have their respective seats, right? They must have the table to keep their notebooks and write what the teacher is teaching, right? So, the first principle is to make sure that the physical condition of the classroom is good, and the second principle is regulation of vital aspects within the classroom, such as seatings and attendance. All right. The third principle says that there should be control of activities and movements of the students within the classroom. From the very beginning of our schooling days, we are taught what we are expected to do in class, right? We need to take permission to carry out certain activities within the classroom, to move from one place to another, right? So all these activities and all these permissions that we take from teachers are not just formalities. These are done to make sure that the classroom activities are controlled by the teacher, right? So the teacher should make sure that any movement that is happening among the students and any activities that are being carried out are controlled by the teacher. The next principle is handling of equipment and materials used within the classroom. Now, for any session to be carried out, there are various equipments that a teacher can use during the class, right? It can be books, it can be charts, it can be samples of certain things, it can be pictures, bones, or chemicals, right? So all the materials that are used during the class to teach to the students, all the equipments that are required by the teacher to teach to the class must be handled properly. All right. So these are the basic principles of classroom management. So the teacher must be the coordinator. The teacher must control the activities going on within the classroom, right? The movement of the students. There should be regulation of the physical environment, such as seating, the attendance, the lighting, and the ventilation of the classroom, so that the students are comfortable and the environment is comfortable enough for them to teach as well as to learn, right? And various equipments and materials that are used during the process of teaching and learning must be handled in a proper way. The teacher must be aware about handling the items and also should be taught to the students about the same. Now, next principle says that take care of yourself to take care of your students. So this means to learn, all the students need a healthy teacher, right? To teach, a teacher must be healthy, right? That the teacher is healthy, right? The teacher gets enough sleep, eat healthy food, and take various activities that helps the teacher to keep herself healthy. Only when the teacher is healthy, she can teach to the class effectively. So this principle says that the teacher needs to be healthy herself or himself to make sure that the students are healthy and learn effectively. Next one is focus on building relationships. Now, when I'm saying relationship, it means the relationship, a healthy relationship between the student and the teacher. Now, to have and to build a healthy student-teacher relationship is very much essential to a thriving classroom culture. So when a student and a teacher have a good and a healthy relationship, it helps the students to achieve academic excellence. So there should be always a healthy and a good relationship between the teacher and the student. The third one is to set rules, boundaries, and expectation. Now, students need a calm and composed and focused environment to make sure that they get better, that they learn better, right? Students do not thrive amidst chaos. Okay, they need a focused and a calm environment for them to learn better, for them to achieve that excellence in academics. All right. Now here it is the part of the teacher to make sure that the teacher creates an environment of mutual respect, right? As I said in the previous one, the teacher should make sure that the relationship that they share with the students is a healthy relationship. Now, when I'm saying healthy relationship, it does not mean that the teacher has to become friends with the student, right? The teacher should know about her boundaries as a teacher. And the students also must know what is expected from them as students, and there should be certain code of conduct that is to be followed. Now, when I'm saying good relationship or healthy relationship, the teacher and the students should share a relationship within the boundary, right? They cannot become too friendly with one another, yet they share a very close relationship with one another. All right. Those were the basic principles of classroom management. Now, as I said, the first one is regulation of physical environment. Let us see the regulation of physical environment in detail. Now, when I'm saying about physical environment, it must have strike your mind that physical environment or physical conditions, some of the physical conditions are not within the control of the teacher, right? So there are various factors that affects the classroom and which are not in control of the teacher, okay? Yet the good teacher can overcome certain situations by effective planning. As a good teacher, the teacher must plan how the teacher and the students can overcome the problems that they may face or the physical conditions that may affect the classroom. How can it be overcome? A good teacher must plan that as well. Okay. Now, every teacher must be well trained and well acquainted about the management of classroom. The teacher must be taught about how to manage a classroom, what are the factors that affect the classroom and how the teacher can manage the classroom. All right, the teacher must be well trained on classroom management. So as I said, there are certain situations, certain physical conditions that the teacher can handle, and sometimes there are certain situations that a teacher cannot handle, right? Certain physical condition, especially when we take nursing, when we are teaching nursing, when the students are taken to clinical settings, the teacher cannot control certain physical setup or certain physical conditions such as wards. Right? Now, when the students are being taught in the wards, there are other people around in the wards. There are patients in the ward, right? The patients sometimes might be facing very drastic situation. They may be facing very difficult situation. Now, controlling all of this as a physical condition is not possible by the teacher, right? So there are various factors which arises during the process of teaching which cannot be controlled by the teacher. Okay, or teaching in a clinical conference room. So while teaching in a clinical conference room, the nursing student and the nurse educator can not only expect the students of nursing or the educator of nursing to be present, right? There can be other people present, and it is not within the capability of the nursing educator to control the entire environment. Now, in handling and regulating physical environment as much as possible, the teacher with good planning and effective planning must try to control the physical environment of the classroom. All right. Next, we have handling attendance and seating. Now, in case of attendance, the teacher needs to choose a proper way of or checking the attendance of the students, right? A definite mode of checking the attendance of the students must be adopted by the teacher, all right? The teacher should see that the method that is adopted by the teacher is the most economical for the time and effort of the teacher, okay? The teacher should make sure that taking attendance does not disturb the classroom, right? Does not disturb the academic session of the students, all right? Now, as I said, a definite method must be adopted by the teacher which saves the teacher time and effort and which does not disturb the class, right? For attendance, usually the teacher can use a definite system of regular seating with a permanent placement so that the teacher can check the attendance quickly. Now, if the students are given a permanent place to sit, right, the teacher will be aware about which student is sitting at which place, and it is a permanent place for the student, right? So when teacher comes to the class, the teacher can have a quick look over the place where the students are sitting and can find out about the attendance of the student, right? This is one of the method that can be used to save time and effort of the teacher and also to make sure there is no more disturbance to the classes, all right? Now, classes should begin promptly and should begin with no much interference, okay? So as I said, the seating arrangement or taking attendance of the students must not disturb the class, okay? Classes should begin immediately as given or as scheduled, okay? Taking attendance or carrying out other activities of the classroom should not disturb the classes or the academic part of the students. Next one, we have regulating activities and movements. Now, the most important principle to make sure that the activities are regulated and coordinated and controlled within the classroom is to make sure that those activities which actually is to be carried out to attain the goal or to attain the objective, there should be no disturbance in achieving those activities. All right? There should be freedom within the classroom to carry out those activities effectively. Okay, what are those activities which will help the teacher to have a control over the class? Let us see. The first one is prepare for the class. Now, poor preparation of the teacher, if the teacher is not well prepared for the class or for the lecture to be delivered, right, it is where the most time is wasted. Now, if the teacher is well prepared for the class, right, if the teacher is ready for the class, the time that is taken by the teacher to initiate the class or to start the class is saved, right? Now, if the teacher is not well prepared for the class or if the teacher is poorly prepared for the class, it wastes a lot of time during the period of class, right? So the first thing is the teacher should come well prepared to the class, okay? Next one is to begin and end class promptly. Now, everyone is bounded by time, right? We all have time limits. Even to carry out a certain class, we have time period given and scheduled for the particular day. The teacher unknowingly delivers a great message and great inspiration to the students if the teacher comes to the class on time and leaves the class on time, right? There is no other value greater than appreciation of time that the teacher can teach to the student, right? Now, this thing, the teacher is not coming and speaking out and delivering the lecture to the student on time management or what the value of time is, right? Here, the teacher is showing it to the students by being punctual, by coming to the class on time and by leaving the class on time, the value that is to be given to time. Okay, so this is one of the great value that a teacher can teach to the student, not by taking a class on it or delivering a presentation on it, but by being punctual and showing it to students what is the value of time. All right. So as a teacher, the teacher should begin the class promptly without no wastage of time and also must end the class on time. All right. Now, while conducting the class, the teacher must make sure that the students do and carry out their work at the given moment, at the time. All right. So this makes sure that the students are paying attention to what is being taught, and the students are also interested in carrying out the activities that is given by the teacher. All right. So as I said, the teacher must be able to elicit interest and motivation among the students. All right. The teacher must also see that the students or the learners help each other during the activities that are carried out within the classroom. Okay, the students should be helpful towards one another in carrying out various activities and assignments given to them within the classroom. Students to show out their talent and creativity. Okay, the class must be free, whereas the class must have an environment where the students know their boundaries and also what is expected from them. Next one is handling instructional material and equipments. Instructional material are also known as teaching learning material. Okay? And these are any collection of material that a teacher uses during the teaching learning process to make the process of teaching effective and to make sure that it is easily understandable by the learners. All right? Now, the various examples of teaching learning material are textbooks, reference books, chart, flashcard, and various equipments that are used during the process of teaching learning process. Okay? Now, the teacher must know what teaching learning equipment she is responsible for. Okay? The teacher must also know what kind and what quality and what quantity of teaching learning material is required for her according to the topic or according to the content that she is going to teach, right? The teacher must have an idea about the best suited equipment that can be used for her subject, okay? And the teacher must check the availability and working condition of all the equipments before the teacher goes and shows it to the students. The teacher should make sure all the equipments are in good working condition and it is available within the school or within the college to make sure that the learning and teaching process is carried out smoothly. Okay? Now, valuable classroom time or the time within the classroom can be saved by distributing the teaching learning material in the right way. Okay? By handling those equipments in the right way. Now, there are various principles that are used in the process of handling equipments and instruction materials. The first principle is to plan an effective method of distributing the instructional material. Okay, so the teacher must have an idea how she is going to deliver the instructional material to all the students within the classroom. Okay, so the teacher must plan about it. Second one is not just to distribute the materials that the teacher is using within the classroom, but how is the teacher collecting those materials used in the classroom must be planned by the teacher. And the teacher must assemble, as I said in the beginning, the teacher must assemble all the equipments and also check for the working and functioning of all the materials before going on and carrying out a class. All right? Before the teacher starts using all the materials, the teacher must at least display all the instruction materials that the teacher is going to use for the class. And the teacher must also teach to the students quickly about how to handle and use those materials and equipments. Okay? So the handling and maintaining of all those equipments must be well planned by the teacher as well as taught to the students. Now, the main goal of having a classroom management or managing and controlling a classroom is to make sure that there is effective teaching learning process. When there is a large class, right, when the classroom is very big and more number of students are there, the teacher must be very attentive about the activities that are being carried out by the students. The teacher must be alert and teacher must find more efficient way of handling the classroom. Now, there are various aims of classroom management. Okay. Now, the major three aims of managing a classroom is prevention and decrease of confusion. Okay, to prevent confusion, or if there's any confusion, to decrease the confusion, because in a classroom management we are taught about what is to be done within the classroom, right? How the teacher is going to carry out a particular class or what students are expected to do. So this will minimize the confusion within the classroom. Next one is economy of time and effort. As I said in the introduction, it will help us to save our time as well as our effort as a teacher and also for the students. And the last one is teaching of good study habits to the student. It will help the students to learn better and it will help the student to understand what way is the best way for them to study. All right. Now, within a classroom, we know we are always given a routine to be followed, a schedule to be followed, right? So, a routine is a technique in which there is a consistency of all the activities to be carried out, which is established by the teacher, right? And a daily routine which is to be carried out and followed by the students as soon as they enter the classroom. For example, preparing of their learning materials, giving their attendance, managing their sitting arrangement, and correction of their homework. So this is the schedule, a series of events given to the students which is to be carried out by them. All right. So a routine is a technique or a series of events that is developed by the teacher, which is also told to the students and expected from the students to follow as the series is given. Now, having a routine or giving a routine within a classroom will help to obviously minimize the confusion, minimize the wastage of time within the classroom, and keep the students settled, focused, and productive. All right. And routine is a very vital aspect in classroom management and it contributes largely to the education of the students. Now, the nature of routine or the type of routine varies from one classroom to another classroom or one institution to another institution, obviously, right? So there are differences in the institution and and the routine also varies from one particular course to another course, right? So there can be variation from one classroom to another classroom, all right? So routine procedures or routine must be developed in order to make sure that the students become interested in learning what is being taught to them. Okay. So with proper routine, the students will be aware about what they are going to do or what they are expected to do, what the teacher will come and teach in the class, right? So this will help the student to conserve their time and energy and also increase their learning capacity. Now, routine is to be maintained and followed, especially when the classroom is large, right? When there is huge number of students in the class, it becomes difficult to manage the classroom. And so the routine is to be made and followed by all the students within the classroom. Okay. So routine and maintaining and following the routine is also a vital aspect of classroom management. So this brings us to the end of the classroom management. I hope the class was helpful and I'll see you all in the next session. Thank you.